Well, what do you know? The fake polls came out yesterday, like they do every Sunday, and the coaches in the AP. And the AP poll, right on cue, moves Georgia up to number 2, copying Uncle Lou's official top 10 poll from last Monday. Good to see that the people that fill out that AP poll are watching Uncle Lou every day like they're supposed to. Gonna be some shakeups in the official Uncle Lou poll today for sure. Of course, Auburn lost, they were in my top 10. Wisconsin lost, they were in my top 10. Notre Dame drove the struggle bus at home against Vandy. Will they fall out of the top 10? We're gonna get to all that, and I will unveil this week's official top 10 right now. On YouTube today. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And 2, top 10 poll time today. I do this video every single Monday morning during the college football season. I make my own top 10 poll. It's better than the AP and the coaches, and it actually makes sense in a lot of ways. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year, and a lot of times they even make a little bit of sense and are watchable. Thumbs up this video, and let's get right into it. All right, we're going to do this the same way we always do it. I'm going to throw up last week's poll so you guys can get an idea of what it looked like last week if you don't remember or you missed it. And then we'll start at 10 and go to number 1 on this week's poll. Just to run through the poll last week here real quick. What did I have here? Bama, UGA, Wisconsin, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Auburn, LSU, Notre Dame, Stanford. That's what it looked like last week. We'll see what changes, if any, and of course there will be some are in it for this week's poll. This is what, the week 3 poll, I guess? Yeah. So anyway, let's go here. Coming up right now at number 10. Number 10. Notre Dame comes in number 10 on this week's poll. They were number 9 last week. I dropped them a spot. If you guys have been watching the poll this season or even last season, I move the teams around within my top 10 a lot from week to week. I reward teams and punish teams on a weekly basis. If you're playing a no-name, somebody you should whip, and you whip them, great. I don't punish you for playing a cupcake team. But if you struggle, you get punished in the Uncle Lou poll. And listen, say what you want to about Vanderbilt. They're a little bit better than I thought they would be this year. They should not be competing with Notre Dame, okay? And Notre Dame drove the struggle bus to a win at home against Vanderbilt last week, and I said this in Sunday's video, but if you watched that Notre Dame-Vanderbilt game, Vanderbilt appeared to be the better team. They outgained them. Vanderbilt had a crucial fumble on the goal line in that game that ended up, in my opinion, costing them the game. The guy was like on the half-yard line. He was fighting to try to get into the end zone. Notre Dame stripped it away. So a good play for Notre Dame, not taking anything away from them. But the point is, Vanderbilt controlled this game for the most part and had every opportunity to win it. Now, they didn't. Notre Dame won. And at the end of the season, it won't matter that you barely beat them. But right now, in this poll, it does matter, and I dropped you from number 9 to number 10. Next week, you go on the road and play at Wake Forest. You need to blow them out. They're not a good team. I know they started 2-0, right? But then they took a whipping to Boston College this past weekend. That game actually was on Thursday, one of those games they moved up from 7:30. They played that game at 5:30 because of the hurricane. You need to whip Wake Forest. Yeah, it's on the road, but come on, it's Wake Forest. You should win that game without a problem. Impress Uncle Lou. Who knows? You might find yourself moving back up the poll. Number 9. All right, new to the poll. First time in the top 10 this year into the poll, Virginia Tech. Before I get into my reasoning for this, I think this would be a good place in the video to explain this again. I do not put any one-loss teams in my poll for the first few weeks of the season. I reward teams who go out and actually win their games on Saturday. Auburn. I know they have a great win against Washington. They have a pretty good loss against a good LSU team. Auburn will be in this top 10 poll at some point, I'm sure, unless they drop another game in the next week or two. In fact, probably starting next week, I'm going to start including some one-loss teams in this poll. Are there any one-loss teams that I think are better than some of the teams in this top 10 poll? Probably. But like I said, early in the season, I reward undefeated teams That's why Virginia Tech is at number 9 in this week's poll. Now, they didn't play this last weekend. The game got canceled, but they beat Florida State pretty good on the road in week 1. And yes, that's not a very good win. Now we see Florida State as a terrible team. But they're undefeated. They go on the road this week and play at Old Dominion. They better beat that team by a lot of points if they want to have any chance of staying in Uncle Lou's top 10 next week once I start including some one-loss teams into this poll. But they're number 9 this week. Congrats, Hokies. Your first ever appearance, I believe, in the Uncle Lou top 10.
Number 8.
All right, the Stanford Cardinal. This is a team I'm really struggling with this year. I'm not going to lie. They have not looked all that impressive a lot of the time this season. Struggled to a win week 1 where Bryce Love had, I think, 28 yards rushing. Had a big win week two. Then they come out this past week and beat UC Davis 30-10. That's not all that impressive to me. Now, 30-10, I mean, you won the game. The game was never in question or in doubt. Bryce Love didn't play. And that's a concern, not just for Stanford for this year, but for Bryce Love and his future. This guy, for whatever reason, just cannot stay healthy. He struggled all last year with ankle sprains and I mean, no serious injuries, but it just seems like Bryce Love is that type of guy that's always got some sort of nagging injury. And here we are week 3 into the season and he's sitting out already. Now, could he have played if this was a meaningful game and someone other than UC Davis? Maybe, I don't know, but the point is this is a concern not only to me for Stanford for the remainder of the year, but for Bryce Love in general. NFL goes over everything with a fine-tooth comb, and there's no denying Bryce Love's talent. But the NFL is going to have to think long and hard, I think, about picking a running back, which is not really a position of need in today's NFL football, the way it's played. Some team is going to really have to think hard about drafting Bryce Love high in an NFL draft, given some of his injury concerns. But they're undefeated. They're sitting at number 8 in the poll. They were number 10 last week, so I moved them up a couple of spots. That's mainly a result of Auburn's loss, really, and Wisconsin's loss. But they are sitting at number 8. Now, they've got a good test this coming up week. This will tell us, I think, whether Stanford belongs in the top 10 of a poll and maybe a contender for the Pac-12, or if they're more of a pretender. They go on the road this week and play at Oregon. This will be one of the biggest games of the year in the Pac-12 that doesn't involve Washington, right? This is a huge game here. A must-watch game this weekend if you're a college football fan. This will go a long way to determining what happens throughout the rest of the year in the Pac-12, and we'll see if Bryce Love can get ready to go. That'll be a good one. But yeah, Stanford's sitting at number 8 this week.
Number 7.
All right, now here's another team, Penn State. Sitting at number 7. This is a perfect example of how I work this poll. I had them ranked in the preseason poll. They struggled to a win against App State, a team they should have dominated. I dropped them out of the poll, right? They were unranked in this poll last week. This week, I moved them all the way up to number 7 after they destroy something called Kent State. I know Kent State's not a good team, but Penn State beat them 63-10. Last week, they beat the hell out of Pitt like 50-something to 7 or something. So, listen, it's possible week 1 was just an anomaly against App State. It's possible App State is better than people thought they were. Lots of different things are possible. The point is, like I mentioned, I punished Penn State for that struggle win against an App State team week 1. They're being rewarded now for 2 blowout wins back-to-back weeks. They're sitting at 3-0, number 7 in this week's poll. They play at Illinois next week. Another team they should blow out. So we'll keep an eye on them, see what they do next week. If they go on the road and handle business like they should at Illinois, then maybe number 7, 8, somewhere in there is the right spot for them. If they go and struggle again, then we have to reconsider. But anyway, they come in this week on the Uncle Lou poll at number 7, the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Number 6.
Oklahoma Sooners. Man, I'm not going to lie, and I bragged on Oklahoma too the first couple of weeks of this season. Their offense looked unstoppable, and their defense actually looked way better than I think anybody thought it would look in dominating wins over FAU and then UCLA, right? You come out this week, you got to go on the road to Iowa State. Now listen, a couple of things here. Yes, Iowa State beat Oklahoma last year. No, Iowa State is nowhere near as talented as Iowa State, period. Oklahoma, I've said this a bunch of times. Oklahoma losing to Iowa State last year ended up meaning nothing, right? Oklahoma still won the Big 12 and made the playoff. It's the equivalent of Clemson losing to Syracuse last year. It meant nothing. Now, sometimes you have this where an elite team, for whatever reason, just doesn't show up one week and gets beat. Anybody can get beat on any given day if they're not ready to play. With that being said, there was zero chance that Iowa State was going to sneak up on Oklahoma this year, right? Iowa State was going to get the very best that Oklahoma had to offer this year, right? You got beat last year in your own place. Iowa State planted their flag on your 50-yard line. Iowa State was going to get 100% of everything Oklahoma had to offer this weekend. And in that scenario, a top 5 team should blow out Iowa State, period. I'm getting a little bit sick of hearing about how you don't just show up on the road at Iowa State and think you can win, or at Iowa. Listen, I don't know if this is a product of these people being stuck in Big 12 territory or something like that. Anyway, a home field advantage at Iowa State. Now listen, I'm sure Iowa State fans are great people, and I'm sure they go nuts at the game, okay? But you gotta save it. Save it. Now, you can find any list of home field advantages you want. Iowa State will not be on that list. They just won't. So save that. You show up at Iowa State, a revenge game. They humiliated you last year in your own stadium. You show up at Iowa State, a team that's already been beat this year by Iowa, an average Big Ten team. You go on the road at Iowa State, struggle pretty much the entire day, and come away with a 10-point win. You were a 3-touchdown favorite in this game. You didn't come anywhere close to covering that. This was not an impressive win for Oklahoma. It's hard to imagine how you can go and blow out teams like UCLA, FAU. The defense can hold them and all this kind of stuff. And then year 2 in a row now against Iowa State, you just absolutely struggle. This is hard to justify. And for that reason, you dropped in the poll. Last week you were 5. This week I had to put you at number 6. Cry if you want to, but I'll say it again. I move teams up and down based on week-to-week performance, and you were not impressive last week, period. I've talked to a few Oklahoma fans over the last couple of days. They aren't happy either. So a few of you want to get in the commenting section and cry, that's on you. You play Army this week. You'll blow them out too. But Oklahoma, you're sitting at number 6 this week in the UNCLELOU poll.
Number 5.
All right, top 5 time, and I've got LSU as the 5th ranked team. Listen, I reward teams for beating good teams. I punish teams for losing or for not showing up against bad teams. LSU, I don't know if there's a team in America that has 2 better wins than LSU. A neutral site win against Miami, and now a road victory against Auburn, a team that has already beat another top 10 team in Washington, okay? There's not another team with 2 better wins than that. There ain't. Just forget it. So I've got LSU sitting at 5. So Oklahoma, this is why, okay? Listen, a 1-point win by LSU on the road at Auburn is way more impressive than a 10-point win on the road at Iowa State. It just is. So I've got LSU sitting at number 5. They beat Auburn 22-21. They play Louisiana Tech next week. They will roll in that game. Now, LSU's got a brutal schedule coming up. Everyone, of course, they're going to have to play Alabama. They've still got Mississippi State, Texas A&M on the schedule too. And, of course, Georgia travels to LSU here in a few weeks, which should be a huge marquee matchup. But LSU looks like a good team. I'm still not completely sold on their quarterback. I'm not. Did he have a terrible game against Auburn? No. But I just don't know if Burrows is a guy that can go out and win a game for you. He may not lose any games for you, but I'm not sure he can go out and win one. We'll see as the season goes along. LSU's defense is for real. Their secondary is elite. Greedy Williams. Look, Jared Stidbaloni's an idiot. An idiot. Throwing at Greedy Williams over and over again. It's like banging your head against the wall. I don't understand. Jared Stidbaloni's got issues, like Auburn quarterback. But LSU, I was hard on you in the offseason. I was hard on Ed Orgeron. I'm still not completely sold on Ed Orgeron. I'm just keeping it honest here. But You have been impressive this year. There's no denying that, okay? You've got 2 really good wins, and I've got you sitting at number 5 in this week's Uncle Lou poll. Welcome to the top 10. All right, and in my opinion, here's 2, 3, and 4. I'm just going to put them all up now, okay? Ohio State 4, Clemson 3, UGA 2. In my opinion, you can have these 3 teams in any order as long as you have them 2, 3, and 4, and you can't argue against it. If you want to put Clemson at 2, fine. You want to put Ohio State at 2, fine. You want to move UGA to 4 or 3, whatever. You get what I'm saying. To me, these are the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th best teams in the country. It's hard to distinguish between them right now. I'll give you my logic as to why I did it this way. UGA had them number 2 last week. They host a terrible team that they should blow out, and they blow them out 49-7. Clemson, sort of a weird weather game, delayed or game moved up against a lower classification team or at least a lower tier school in Georgia Southern, a team Clemson should dominate. You win 38-7. Ohio State plays a neutral site game against a top 15 TCU team and beats them 40-28. Really, the game was closer than that, though. Ohio State scored a couple of touchdowns late in this game. TCU gave Ohio State everything they could handle and then some. Now, obviously, the Ohio State win against TCU is a better win than Clemson over Georgia Southern or Georgia over Middle Tennessee State. But neither Georgia or Middle Tennessee, you get what I'm saying. Neither Georgia or Clemson struggled in their game. So I just couldn't justify dropping them. Plus, if I'm being true to my own thoughts and things, I've been telling you guys since the offseason that I'm not completely sold on TCU. I think they're a little overrated, even being at 14 or 15. Now, they looked good on Saturday against Ohio State. Now, does that mean TCU's better than I thought, or does that mean Ohio State's not as good as we thought? We'll find out. I'll be honest, it probably means TCU is a little bit better than we thought. I still like Ohio State, especially after seeing Wisconsin crap to bed this past weekend. I think anybody would be an idiot not to assume at this point that Ohio State is the front runner in the Big Ten for sure. But I've got Ohio State at 4. Clemson, still playing musical QBs. Don't know what they're going to do there. They may do that all year, to be honest. I don't know. I don't really see anybody on Clemson's schedule in the regular season that can give them a serious threat until really the playoffs. I don't even think the ACC championship game will be that much of a struggle for Clemson. They could really honestly rotate these quarterbacks during the entire season. Now, if they get to the playoffs, it'll be a different story. We'll cross that bridge when we get there in terms of what quarterback needs to be playing. But I don't think the way they're handling their quarterback situation right now is going to hurt them at all. Clemson, to me, the number 3 team. And, of course, Georgia. Georgia has blown out all 3 teams they've played. One of them was an SEC team on the road. South Carolina was ranked at the time. Say what you want about South Carolina. They're overranked. I get it. You do this every year. You tell me all week we're going to lose to South Carolina. We beat them by 40 points. Then all next week, you tell me how sorry South Carolina was. And who have Georgia played, Lou? I know. So, I get all that. And you say, well, Georgia's schedule is terrible. I get all that, too. What else do you want? We're outscoring opponents 150 to, 40 or something for the entire year. Or less than that, even. We shut one team out. One team scored 7. What did South Carolina score? 17? 17 plus, so we get them 24 points. So anyway, you get what I'm saying. We're shutting these people out. We're dominating them. By the 4th quarter of all 3 games, walk-ons are playing. Forget second string. Walk-ons are in there in the 4th quarter of all 3 games. UGA has done everything they've needed to do during their first 3 games this year. They go on the road and play at Missouri this year. I'll get comments all week this week in the comment section that Drew Lock is going to light Georgia up. This will be Georgia's first test. All this kind of stuff. Georgia will go out and do the same thing they've been doing all year, which is beat Missouri by 3 or 4 touchdowns. And then the following week, everybody will be on here telling me how Missouri's no good and asking me, who have Georgia played, Lou? Who have Georgia played? So, believe me, I know. Clemson, you go on the road and face at Georgia Tech. Jesus Christ. Georgia Tech needs a win in the worst possible way, at least as far as I'm concerned. I support Paul Johnson 100%. Georgia Tech's got to come up with some wins here because the fire is getting turned up on Paul Johnson's seat right now. And listen, no one expects Georgia Tech to beat Clemson, but you guys got to start winning some games after that. We got to keep Paul Johnson there, okay? We got to keep Paul Johnson there. I may even start making some Georgia Tech trash videos, see if that'll help or whatever. Not trashing them, but I'm talking about, like, you know, I'll be a Georgia Tech fan. I need Georgia Tech to win some games. Probably not happening this week, though. And Ohio State plays something called Tulane. I don't understand. Why doesn't Ohio State schedule any good teams? I don't get it. Rutgers, Oregon State, Tulane. I mean, Rutgers got beat by Kansas like 55-7. Ohio State claims that as a good win because they're a Power 5 team. I mean, get out of here. And, of course, number one, Alabama. Listen, Alabama is clearly the number one team in America. No one hates Alabama more than I do. No one loves needling the Gumps because they're so easy to get triggered, right? Last year, all I had to do was say the word average on video, and I had 1 million Gumps in the comment section crying. I would love to do that. Alabama looks absolutely unstoppable on both sides of the ball. I've never seen Alabama have an offense like this, ever. Alabama's offense, to me, looks better than last year's Oklahoma offense. Big 12 fans want to cry about it, go ahead. Feel free. But to me, that's what I see when I watch Alabama. And I've watched some of all of their games, and I watched almost all of the Ole Miss game, and it's absolutely ridiculous. They've got 2 or 3 NFL wide receivers. They've got Tua. They've got at least 2 NFL running backs. They've got an NFL offensive line, and they have a Nick Saban defense. I mean, this could be one of the best teams, if not the best team Nick Saban has had in his time at Alabama. Obviously, that doesn't mean they can't be beat. That's why you show up and play these games. Injuries, and who knows what could happen the rest of the year. But anybody who wants to try to tell me right now that Alabama shouldn't be number one, if you make a poll, if anybody makes a poll and doesn't have Alabama number one, you're not paying attention to college football. There's no way you can watch Alabama play and say they're not the number one team. I mean, there's just no way. So they're clearly the number one team. And like I said, you can argue over where you place 2, 3, and 4 if you want, but there should be no argument about number one. Georgia's closing in. We'll see. Alabama will have a few tough games coming up. LSU, Auburn, Mississippi State, Texas A&M. So we'll see how they handle those. I don't expect them to beat some of those teams 60-something-7 like they did Ole Miss, but we'll see. Their offense is definitely rolling. And like I said, it's a Nick Saban defense. Anyway, that's it. That's this week's Top 10 poll. Live show scheduled this week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, a live call-in show. Check the live show out if you haven't seen it. We have a lot of fun on that show. We take a lot of phone calls from fans from all over the country. Check it out. Tuesday, Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, we do the exact same thing. And then Saturday morning, I do a college game day live show out here. I turn college game day on, watch it, and we talk about the day's games and things like that. Video upload scheduled this week. Tomorrow, I'll be doing an SEC preview for this coming weekend's games, and we got some good ones. On Wednesday, I will be doing the same thing, but for the top 25 teams. And then on Thursday, I'll be doing a preview video for all the games that are of interest to me that weren't covered in the SEC video or the top 25 video. On Friday, I will have a Georgia versus Missouri video. And, of course, on Saturday, and every Saturday, I upload a Georgia halftime report video and a Georgia final after the game reaction video, as well as reactions to any other surprises or whatever may happen that's noteworthy during the days and nights every Saturday during college football season. Again, subscribe if you aren't already, and have a great morning, too.